Chapter 1. Love in the Rain. On a rainy afternoon, Leah drove along the winding country road, the rhythmic patter of rain on her windshield creating a calming melody. She loved the sound, but as the storm grew heavier, her car began to sputter. A sudden jolt shook the vehicle, and within moments the engine went silent. She tried to restart it, but the car refused to cooperate. Stranded in the middle of nowhere with rain pouring down, Leah felt a surge of panic. She reached for her phone, only to realize there was no signal. Frustrated and helpless, she sighed, resting her head on the steering wheel. The rain showed no sign of stopping, and the road ahead was eerily empty. Just as she began to consider walking to find help, a pair of headlights appeared through the rain. A car slowed down, pulling up behind her. Leah's heart raced. She wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or worried, but as the driver stepped out, her anxiety melted away. The man was tall, with dark hair dampened by the rain, and a warm smile that seemed to brighten the gloomy afternoon. "Need some help?" he asked, his voice gentle but filled with concern. Leah nodded, stepping out of her car, rain soaking her instantly. "My car just stopped out of nowhere, and I can't get any signal out here," she explained, frustration lacing her words. The man, who introduced himself as Noah, gave a nod. "Mind if I take a look?" Without hesitation, he popped the hood and examined the engine. Leah stood nearby, shivering slightly in the cold rain but feeling oddly comforted by his presence. After a few minutes, Noah sighed and wiped his hands. "Looks like it's something with the engine. I don't think it's going to start without a tow." Leah groaned, running a hand through her wet hair. "Of course, today of all days." Noah offered a sympathetic smile. "It's all right. I already called a tow truck on my way here. They should be here in about 20 minutes. Leah blinked, surprised by his thoughtfulness. "You didn't have to do that." "Thank you." "Well, I couldn't just leave you stranded out here," Noah replied, his smile widening. "Besides, it's always good to help someone in need." They stood together by the side of the road, the rain falling softly now, creating a peaceful backdrop. Noah leaned against his car, and Leah followed his lead, finding comfort in their easy conversation. They talked about everything: where they were from, their favorite movies, and even childhood memories that made them laugh. Leah was struck by how naturally they connected, like old friends who had just met again after years apart. Noah's kindness and humor made the rainy day feel much warmer. "Do you often rescue strangers on rainy afternoons?" Leah teased, glancing at him from under her damp hair. Noah chuckled. "Only the lucky ones," he said with a wink. His playful response made her laugh, a sound that mixed beautifully with the rain. As the minutes passed, Leah found herself completely at ease. There was something about Noah, his genuine interest in her stories, the way he listened, and how he made her laugh without even trying, that made the situation feel less like an inconvenience and more like fate. Finally, the tow truck arrived, and the driver confirmed what Noah had suspected: the car needed serious repairs. As the car was loaded onto the truck, Leah turned to Noah, feeling a wave of gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you." I would have been stuck here for hours if you hadn't stopped. It's no big deal, really, Noah said, his smile never fading. But, if you really want to thank me, maybe we could grab coffee sometime. I mean, if you're interested. Leah felt her heart skip a beat. She wasn't expecting him to ask, but the idea of seeing him again filled her with excitement. Coffee sounds perfect, she replied, a smile spreading across her face. I'd like that. Noah handed her his phone, and they exchanged numbers. As they stood there, the rain began to lighten, turning into a soft drizzle. It felt like the world was giving them a quiet, private moment. Leah tucked her phone away, still smiling at the thought of their next meeting. Before she left with the tow truck, Noah waved her off, watching as the vehicle disappeared down the road. Leah couldn't help but glance back through the rearview mirror, seeing Noah standing there, his figure becoming smaller but his kindness lingering in her thoughts. Days passed, and as promised, Noah texted Leah, inviting her for coffee. They met at a small cafe in town, the same warmth from that rainy afternoon immediately filling the space between them. Their conversations picked up where they had left off, flowing easily, like they'd known each other for years. One coffee date turned into 2, then 3, and soon they were meeting regularly, sharing stories and laughter over steaming cups of coffee. As time went on, their connection deepened. Leah admired Noah's kindness, his unwavering optimism, and how he always seemed to put others before himself. Noah, in turn, was captivated by Leah's strength, her sharp wit, and her caring heart. The rainy afternoon that had once seemed like a disaster became the start of something neither of them had expected: love. Months later, on another rainy day, they found themselves walking hand in hand through the park. The rain fell softly, but neither of them cared. It reminded them of how they met, how fate had brought them together when they least expected it. Stopping under a large tree for shelter, Noah looked at Leah, his eyes filled with affection. I used to hate rainy days," he said, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. Leah smiled, her heart swelling with the love she had found. "Me too. But now I think they're my favorite." With the rain softly falling around them, Noah leaned in and they shared their first kiss. It was sweet and tender, filled with all the feelings they had discovered over the past months. That rainy afternoon had given them more than they could have imagined. It had given them each other. Chapter 2. Weathering the storms together. Their relationship had been like the rainstorm that brought them together, sometimes gentle, sometimes intense. Leah and Noah were different in many ways, which made their connection exciting, but also challenging at times. In the beginning, their differences seemed charming. Leah loved the way Noah embraced life with an easygoing attitude, while Noah admired Leah's strong will and independence. They balanced each other, but over time those same traits began to create friction as the months passed. Small disagreements turned into larger arguments. Leah's need for structure often clashed with Noah's laid-back approach. Where Leah liked to plan every detail of their dates, Noah preferred spontaneity. At first, they tried to laugh it off, but slowly, the tension grew. One evening, after an argument about something as trivial as weekend plans, Leah found herself questioning if they were too different to make things work. "Why can't you ever take things seriously?" she snapped, frustration leaking into her voice. Noah, clearly hurt, replied, "Why does everything have to be planned to the last minute? Can't we just enjoy the moment?" That night they parted ways in frustration, each retreating to their own corners, hurt and unsure of what to do next. The following days felt strange. They didn't text as often, and when they did, the messages felt distant, like something had shifted between them. Leah missed their easy conversations and the comfort Noah had once brought her, but she wasn't sure how to fix things. Noah, on the other hand, spent a lot of time thinking about their relationship. He cared deeply for Leah and didn't want to lose what they had. But he also realized that their issues couldn't be ignored. They needed to talk, really talk, and figure out how to meet in the middle. Finally, after a week of silence, Noah reached out. "Can we meet and talk?" his message read. Leah hesitated for a moment but then agreed. They met at the cafe where they had shared their first coffee date. As soon as Leah saw Noah, her heart softened. He looked tired but determined, and she knew that whatever happened next would be important. They sat down, and for the first time in weeks, they were honest with each other. Noah spoke about how he felt stifled by the constant planning, but also admitted that he hadn't taken her feelings seriously enough. Leah, in turn, opened up about her fears. She wasn't trying to control everything, but she was afraid of things falling apart if she didn't plan ahead. She realized that her need for control came from a deeper fear of uncertainty, and that sometimes she needed to let go as they talked. Something shifted between them. It wasn't easy, and the conversation brought up a lot of emotions, but it was necessary. They both agreed that love wasn't just about the good times, but about weathering the storms together. Over the next few months, things began to change. Leah learned to embrace spontaneity, realizing that not every moment had to be planned. Some of their best days, she discovered, came from unplanned adventures. Noah, in turn, made an effort to be more thoughtful about their time together. He started paying more attention to the little things that mattered to Leah, showing her that he was committed to making their relationship work. One evening, they found themselves walking in the park again, much like that rainy afternoon when they first kissed. The sky was clear, and the stars twinkled above them as they strolled hand in hand. There was a sense of peace between them now, the kind that comes after a storm passes and the air feels fresh and new. Noah stopped under the same tree where they had shared their first kiss. "Do you remember this spot?" he asked, looking at her with a playful smile. Leah smiled, nodding. "Of course. It's where it all began. And it's where we found our way back to each other," Noah added softly. "I know we've had our challenges, but I wouldn't change a thing. It made us stronger." Leah squeezed his hand, feeling a deep sense of love and gratitude for the man standing beside her. They had faced their differences head-on, learned from their mistakes, and come out stronger on the other side. "I'm glad we didn't give up," Leah said quietly, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Me too," Noah replied, wrapping his arm around her. "I think the rain brought us something more than just love. It taught us to grow together, no matter what storms come our way." They stood there under the stars, knowing that their love wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was the kind of love that could weather the ups and downs, the kind that was built on understanding, patience, and the willingness to keep trying. As they walked back to their car, hand in hand, Leah smiled to herself. She had found something even more beautiful than that rainy afternoon. It was the love they had built together, piece by piece, through every challenge and every joy. And in that moment, she knew that no matter what came next, they would face it together, just like they always had.